You do know that your body goes through two major shifts, one around age 44 and then another at 60. And these aren't slow, gradual changes. They hit fast, completely reprogramming how your body stores fat. And if you don't take the right steps, you can end up with twice the belly fat and half the muscle, even if you weigh exactly the same. I'm gonna explain why it's happening and give you simple, science-backed solutions that work right now. Whether you're battling a menopause belly or that slow, steady gut that sneaks up on men, you won't want to miss this. Okay, now the change starts with something most people never see coming. 1 month, your clothes still fit. The next, your belly's pushing out over your waistband, even though you haven't gained a pound. It feels sudden because for many people it is. Your body hits a sharp shift and actually starts creating new fat cells, mostly around the stomach. One study found that up to 80% of abdominal fat in midlife is newly formed. That's why so many people say, I feel like I gained 20 pounds overnight, because in a way they did. And for women, the shift accelerates during menopause. Estrogen drops, the body pulls fat away from the hips and the thighs, and it redistributes it straight to the belly. Studies actually show that visceral fat can increase by over 120% during menopause, even if your overall weight stays the same. That's when many women say their body changed shape, going from pear to apple. Not because they're overeating, but because their hormones change the rules on them. And women aren't alone on this, men face it too. As testosterone declines, muscle breaks down, belly fat creeps in, and by the age 60, most men have more than doubled the visceral fat that they carried in their 20s. Meanwhile, muscle loss speeds everything up for both men and women. Starting at age 40, you lose about 1% of the muscle you have every year, unless you're actively maintaining it. And with less muscle, your body burns less fat, especially around the waist. So what can you do? First, start by eating more protein. Older adults need more protein to get the same muscle building response. Aim for 20 to 30 grams of protein per meal, or about a half a gram per pound of body weight per day. Not 20 to 30 grams of chicken, 20 to 30 grams of protein that's in the chicken. This helps protect lean tissue, reduce cravings, and support your metabolism. Next, try to include weightlifting into your routine. Just 2 to 3 sessions a week of adding some weights can make a big difference. I mean, that can include free weights, resistance bands, or even your own body weight, which is what I teach a lot of. It doesn't have to be complicated, but it does have to challenge your muscles. In one study, older adults doing high resistance training lost 65% more belly fat than those training moderately, even though their diets were the same. Now, if lifting weights sounds too intimidating, don't worry. I'll share some easier options in just a moment. Next, stop starving yourself. Crash diets don't just fail, they backfire. Now, fasting can be a useful tool that you can pick up, but daily starvation is what we want to avoid. I'll explain more on fasting in a minute. But one study found that women on extreme calorie cuts for 30 days or 60 days or 90 days lost more lean tissue than fat. And when the weight came back, it came back as fat only. Instead, keep your body in a slight calorie deficit. I call it curbing your consumption in my book. About 300 to 500 calories less a day. Keep protein high, keep lifting regularly, and that's how you burn fat without sacrificing the one thing that keeps your metabolism alive, your muscle. Now, a lot of people in their 40s and 50s think that the metabolism just shuts down because they're eating better, they're moving more, and still watching their belly grow. But a massive study in Science followed over 6,000 people from infancy to old age and found something surprising. Your metabolism actually stays stable from age 20 to 60. So if your metabolic rate hasn't slowed much, what's actually changing? Your fat tissue. That's because fat cells aren't just storage, they're active hormone-sensitive tissue. And once you hit your 40s, they stop behaving in the way that they used to. They become inflamed, they don't respond to insulin resistance, they start leaking chemicals that can trigger even more fat storage. And it's especially true of belly fat. But here's the good news. This can be reversed. Step 1 is activating something called autophagy. That's your body's cleanup system. It kicks in during fasting, and it helps restore fat cells to the healthier, more responsive state. One study out of Osaka University found that fasting didn't just burn calories, it changed how fat cells actually worked. It helped shut off the genes that tell your body to store fat and switched on the ones that break it down. But it only works if insulin stays low long enough. That usually means 12 to 16 hours without food. So As for the tool of fasting that we were talking about earlier, without starving ourselves, a simple overnight fast, perhaps starting at 3 p.m. and then not putting food in until the next morning at 8, can make a real difference. Extended fasting can still be done as a tool to reset the body, but just these little gaps in these little windows of restricted eating can be extremely powerful to clean up your fat cells. Next, fix what you're feeding your fat. Ultra-processed foods, especially seed oils, processed carbs, and sugar, all drive inflammation straight into your fat tissue. So to cool it down, focus on an anti-inflammatory rich diet. Foods like omega-3s. Now these can be from wild-caught fish, from flaxseed, from walnuts, or supplement form. Cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, polyphenol-rich foods like berries and leafy greens, spices like ginger, turmeric, cinnamon. These aren't just healthy foods, they actively help repair the damaged fat cells of your body, and they support a better metabolism. Next, remember when you used to be able to eat some junk and then miss some sleep, but it didn't really show up on your waistline? But then now, one rough night of sleep or a few days of stress, and it's like your belly inflates, and it stays that way. It's not your imagination, that's cortisol. Cortisol is your stress hormone. It's supposed to rise and fall, but once you've passed the age of 40, it tends to stay elevated. And when cortisol stays high, your body stores more fat around the midsection. One study found that women with high cortisol levels had significantly more belly fat than women with lower cortisol, even when the body weight was similar. And poor sleep just makes it worse. When you're sleep deprived, leptin, your fullness hormone, drops, ghrelin, your hunger hormone, rises, and fat cells stop responding properly to insulin. Poor sleep also keeps cortisol levels elevated at nighttime when it's supposed to dip. And when that rhythm is off, your body shifts into fat storage mode instead of fat burning mode, and it just stays there. And if you're a woman going through menopause, things get even worse, because estrogen normally helps regulate cortisol and insulin, but when estrogen drops, blood sugar swings get worse, and then cortisol stays high at nighttime, so then you get less sleep, which results in your belly fat increasing, even if you haven't changed your habits. But here's the good news. I know that was dim, but here's the good news. These systems are trainable. You can get them working for you again. Start by fixing your sleep. Aim for 7 to 9 hours a night in a cool, dark room. Lowering your bedroom temperature below 68 degrees activates brown fat, which helps you burn more calories while you sleep. One study showed that colder sleep environments can burn an extra 100 calories per night. That's about 10 pounds of fat a year, just from changing your thermostat. Magnesium glycinate or glycine before bed can also help if you're waking up during the middle of the night. So can limiting screens and bright lights in the hour before bed. I actually have a full video on the top 10 best ways to lose fat while you sleep. I'll include a link to that video in the description below. Next, stop eating so close to bedtime. When you eat late, insulin stays elevated. That blocks melatonin, and then it keeps cortisol high, especially overnight. So try to finish your last full meal at least 3 hours before bed. A good trick to make sure that you don't snack after dinner is to brush your teeth immediately after you finish your dinner meal, because you don't want to go back on brushing your teeth and have to brush them again, right? Also, walk after your meals. Just 10 minutes of walking after eating can drop blood sugar by up to 22%. That helps keep your insulin low, and it keeps your fat burning active. Can't walk after every meal? Then aim for at least 2 minutes of movement every 30 to 60 minutes throughout your day. Even light movement helps regulate cortisol. You also want to retrain your stress response. You don't have to eliminate stress. You can't. You just want to help your body handle it better. So use tools like deep breathing. I teach one called the paced breathing method. Stretching. I love to do this especially outside early in the morning to get nice sun exposure. Get some cold exposure. Maybe that's just a cold shower. Prayer. Time in nature. These aren't just fluffy wellness tips. They actually help lower cortisol and reset your nervous system. So then you can burn fat instead of storing it. In addition, there's also certain supplements that can help, such as adaptogenic herbs like rhodiola and ashwagandha. I use those in my stress support. They can help lower cortisol by as much as 30% when they're used regularly. Omega-3, especially from fish sources, can lower cortisol by up to 19%, especially if during the day you're getting 2.5 grams of total omega-3s from the foods that you're eating or the supplements that you're taking. Now, while lowering cortisol helps take your body out of fat storage mode, there's something else that determines whether you can actually burn off the fat: your muscle. As we already discussed, muscle is where fat gets burned. And once you start losing it, which begins quietly in your 40s, your body's ability to burn fat drops fast. That process is called sarcopenia. And by the time you're in your 50s, you could be losing up to 1% of your muscle every year, unless you're doing something to stop it. And here's where this connects directly to your belly. When you lose muscle, you gain belly fat at the same time. It creates something called sarcopenic obesity. Your weight might look normal, but your body composition is different. Your body fat is high and lean tissue is low. This shows up all the time in postmenopausal women. The muscle goes down, the belly fat goes up, even if the scale doesn't move. So yes, you might weigh the same as you did 10 years ago, but your body has changed. So what's the answer? Earlier, we talked about the two most powerful tools for preserving muscle: resistance training, adding in some weights, and protein. But if you're not into lifting weights or you're not into going to the gym, don't worry. You don't need fitness membership. You just need muscle activation. Doesn't take much. In one clinical trial, even frail nursing home residents improve strength and mobility just with a simple strength routine and better nutrition. So if they can do it, you can too. Try some of these at home. Chair stands. Sit and stand from a chair without using your hands. Do wall push-ups or incline push-ups using a table or propping your feet up on the couch. Bodyweight squats, holding on to the kitchen counter for balance. Resistance bands, anchored to a doorknob or a stair railing. Just even 2 to 3 short sessions a week is enough to rebuild strength, protect muscle, and get your metabolism moving again. So if you want to take it further, I'll include some additional home workouts in the description below. And if you're already exercising, there's more you can layer in. You can start using creatine. It's one of the most researched supplements in the world, and it's not just for athletes. Creatine helps improve strength, maintain lean mass, and it supports brain function in older adults. So if you're struggling to regain muscle or keep what you have, it can make a real difference. You can also just move throughout the day outside of your workouts. This is called NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. I love this concept. It includes all the movement you do that isn't formal exercise, like walking to the mailbox, folding laundry while standing, cleaning the kitchen, pacing during a phone call. After 40, your NEAT drops 30 to 40%, especially in women going through hormonal shifts. That decline quietly drains your motivation to move, and it reduces your daily calorie burn, even if your workouts are solid. But you can quickly turn it around with small changes that add up really fast. For example, replace just 2 hours of sitting with light movement. That can burn up to 350 extra calories a day. So stand up, walk while you talk on the phone. Make a point to move 2 minutes every single hour. It's not exercise, but it's still burning fat. Now, you clean up your meals, you've added strength training, maybe even tried a little fasting, but the belly fat still won't move. There's one system most people overlook, and that's your gut. After 40, the balance of the bacteria in your digestive system starts to shift. And that shift directly affects how your body stores fat. In fact, in one study, people with more belly fat, even at the same body weight, had a completely different gut profile compared to those with leaner waists. Why? Because the helpful bacteria that support fat burning and reduce inflammation start to drop, while harmful bacteria that increases cravings, promote fat gain, and trigger inflammation begin to grow. But I got good news for you. This is fixable, and it's fixable quickly. You can start shifting your gut bacteria profile in just a few days with the right strategies. First, increase your fiber. Fiber feeds good bacteria, the ones that burn fat, lower inflammation, and support hormonal balance. Most people over 40 are only getting half the amount of fiber that they need. The target is 25 to 35 grams a day. You should easily be able to get that in. If you're not getting that, then consider adding in more vegetables. Have a vegetable bowl, hummus, or some kind of dips that you can regularly tap into. Berries, apples, pears with the skin on, lentils, beans, chickpeas, and my favorites, ground flax or chia seeds. Here's a pro tip. Add 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed or even chia seeds to your smoothie. It's an easy fiber fix, and it supports estrogen balance at the same time. Next, bring in fermented foods. These feed your gut with new healthy bacteria. Even small daily servings can help. Try plain unsweetened yogurt or kefir. Make sure there are live cultures on the label. It should say live cultures. Sauerkraut, kimchi, naturally fermented pickles, miso. These are great options of fermented foods. These foods also help seal up the gut lining and reduce the signals that tell your body to store fat. Next, cut back on gut-damaging foods. They disrupt your microbiome and they feed the bad bacteria. So really watch out for highly processed snacks, industrial seed oils, artificial sweeteners of any kind, refined sugars, processed proteins like deli meat. Even if your calories are under control, these ingredients can sabotage your fat loss. So consider cutting out all forms of carbs for 2 weeks, or even going carnivore for a short amount of time, just to give your gut a helpful bacteria reset. Stop feeding the bad ones, start feeding the good ones. Finally, stop eating around the clock. Your gut needs time to rest, repair, rebalance. If you're constantly grazing or eating late at night, it never gets that chance. Try to give yourself at least 12 hours overnight without food. That simple shift can help normalize your inflammatory response, improve insulin sensitivity, and help the right bacteria grow. Now, if you're watching this, you've already taken a huge step forward. You learned what's really driving belly fat after the age of 40 and why nothing works unless you fix the systems behind it. But there's one more layer that most people miss. Even if your hormones, your gut, and your habits are dialed in, if your liver is still congested, then it can block fat burning completely. So in my next video, I will show you the top 6 food hacks that help your liver release stored fat, reduce inflammation, and speed up weight loss without crash diets or guesswork. These are the same food changes that I've used with thousands of patients, and they work whether you've got 10 pounds to lose or 100. So if you're serious about burning belly fat and keeping it off, this is the next step. So click here to watch that next video, and I'll see you there.